$68.7 billion. This is the price of the biggest technology company deals of the history. This transaction that implies one of the biggest video games company in the world with the second biggest company in terms of market cap has created a real shockwave. This shockwave has been increased this Tuesday with the earnings of Microsoft that has totally annihilate their earnings with more than 20% of growth in their revenues. But in this case, why did Microsoft lose so much values in the past week? Well, in this video, I will share with you how the current macroeconomic situation with the fear of the increase in the interest rate will impact the current valuation of the Microsoft stock. So I will tell you if you should or should not buy this stock. First, let me address my fears for the current situation on the market. As you guys might have been able to see, since 2 weeks now, we've been able to see a huge market correction that is down more than 10%. This is due to many different factors. For example, the fear of the increase of the interest rate in the next months to be able to fight against the high inflation that is at its highest point since 30 years. But there's also many other different factors. For example, the potential situation in Russia that is trying to invade Ukraine would be pretty threatening to many different countries around the world, which could cause to a war. And there's also the classic supply chain problems that affects many different fields of our economy, just like, for example, the food sector. So as you guys can see, we are pretty much in a situation at the moment. Microsoft, just like the other sectors, has been fully hit by the downtrend on the market. However, Microsoft, compared to other companies like Netflix and Shopify, has been able to resist pretty well to the shockwave of those news. However, we can see that usually all the small cap represented by the Russell index has been really hit hard by all these news. Of course, with the news of the Activision acquisition by Microsoft, the stock has temporarily lost a lot of value during that day. However, we've been able to see with the past that this is a complete normal tendency because basically the shareholders are fearing the fact that in this case, Microsoft will need to use $70 billion of cash to be able to buy directly Activision. Last year, at the same date, it was the same case for Couche-Tard that tries to buy the supermarket French company Carrefour, and at that time the stock plummeted of more than 15%, which actually came back to its normal after 1 month. Now I will share with you why I think that Microsoft is currently one of the best companies that you can invest into for the future. I am not any kind of financial advisor, so always make sure to do your own research before to make your own investment. So first, let's look at the company itself. Microsoft is known all around the world as being the first company that has created the computer software. Through time, this company has gained so much power and growth that it gains more than $2.5 trillion of market cap, which put it as the second biggest company just behind Apple. It also has more than 122 subsidiaries that counts Lincoln, Mojang, and Sky. Even if this company is more than 40 years old, we've seen in the past quarter that they have grown their revenues of 20% with also some positive operating profit. Even if we've seen the stock plunge of more than 10% on Tuesday night on the aftermarket following the earnings of Microsoft that is due to the potential tech sell-off, we can see many positive indicators of their earnings. We can see that Microsoft beats both the earnings and the revenues for the third quarter of 2021. The main key points for the reports were the fact that Microsoft has successfully surpassed all the estimates. However, we've seen that the sad point about that is the fact that on the Azure Cloud revenues, they have merely matched what were the analyst expectations. The second point was considering the acquisition of Activision, so it is the other key points of their reports, since this deal is, as I told you earlier, a super important deal for them. We can see that the earnings report per share are about $2.48 per share versus what was anticipated, which was $2.31 per share. For the revenues that were said by Microsoft were about $51.73 billion versus what was expected of $50.88 billion. So as I told you earlier, that makes that the revenue increase of more than 50% from last year. So for the sad part of the reports, we can see that the Azure Public Cloud, which is the Microsoft Intelligent Cloud segment, has reported some earnings of $18.33 billion in revenue, which is equal to 25.5% of growth, which is a little bit higher than what was predicted by the expert of $18.3 billion. And so what happened is that the revenues from Azure from the cloud service grew only 46%, which is still very good, but it is ending a streak of 4 quarters in a row where they were making about 50% or more of growth in their revenue. And the last thing I wanted to say about the earnings of Microsoft is the fact that the Xbox hardware revenue rose of 4% with the passing 1-year anniversary of Microsoft launch of the new Xbox Series X, which makes only 1 year since it came out. And this is pretty good news, especially with the Activision deal. So we've seen that the Xbox hardware revenue surge of 166%, and potentially in the future, the revenues will continue to increase way more with the coming of Activision. So for the valuation measures, I personally wouldn't give too much importance to those measures at the moment, knowing the fact that we are currently in a market where there is a lot of volatility and where everything is moving pretty fast. But we can see that right now, all the measures like the PE, the PEG, the price to sales, and the price to book are all super high, which means that the stock technically is supposed to be overvalued with those measures. However, both the profit and the operating margin are around 40%, which is some pretty good news, especially when we see that the return on assets and the return on equity are super high as well. Now, knowing the fact that this business is currently sleeping on more than $130 billion in cash and that they will need to cut this in half to be able to pay Activision, we can see that it could potentially have a certain impact on their dividend payout ratio and on the future dividends that they will be able to pay to their shareholders. But also, if they have to face any unpredictable situation, they might be in bigger trouble. So because Microsoft has the Xbox, the good news about this acquisition is the fact that they are taking control more of the part of the video games industry, and this is really a good news, especially for the Xbox fan that I am. Activision has also many different subsidiaries like Treyarch, Blizzard, and King. They notably own many different games like Call of Duty, Overwatch, World of Warcraft, and my favorite one, Candy Crush. Activision is one of the most known company in the video games field with more than 50 billions of worth and also with some revenues of more than 10 billions in the last year. So this company will definitely have a positive impact on Microsoft part in the video games, and it will help them to grow their part in this field. I personally think that this company was really a great company to invest before the acquisition, and I think that it's an even better company to invest now that they have acquired Activision, because I think that this acquisition will help them to increase their parts in the gaming industry. And as an ex-gamer myself and as a pro Xbox, I would say, I knew that Xbox in the past years has lost some part of the market, but now with this acquisition, it will help them to solidify their position as a leader in that field, and it will potentially help them also to beat PlayStation and Sony. But for real, I think that this company offers a great balance between growth but also dividends, which I personally research as a company like that, and I think that it has a really great future with all the possibilities that it has. However, I think that right now with the market that we have, I think that there is many discount on the market. Microsoft, I think it's a company that has some great discount, but I think that there are maybe some better companies to invest at the moment. However, Microsoft could be pretty interesting to see if it continues to dip, but I think that even if you buy at these prices, it could be a great pick for the future, because this company definitely has a great future ahead of it. And if you guys like that video, let me know in the comment section, what do you think of Microsoft? Do you think it's a great buy at the moment or not? And for everyone that is new, I invite you to join the North family by subscribing to the channel. It is fully free and it really encourages myself to continue to make some great videos like that. And I will see you soon. Peace.